Yo, check it out. Want to know if the price of those wave runners is too good to be true? Or if I Wear My Kicks 49 is truly selling dead stocks? Or if that Jordan 1 Royal box is original? eBay checks. See that little blue check mark? Behind it is a team of independent authenticators who check. And we mean everything. Every tongue, check. Every toe box, check. Every corner of every box, check, 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 check. Every logo, every label, every lace loop. Yeah, it's checked. The luster of the leather, the topography on the tags, to the straightness of the stitching on the sole. Everything you can see, and even some things you can't.
Really?
Then they tag them, log them in the system, box them up, and ship them out, with no cost for the buyer or seller. eBay checks, so the moment you open that box is as real gets.
Welcome back to Relegation. We have already made it to our winners finals. One team at the end of this best of 3 will have a spot into 2024's Challenger Circuit. My name is Upmind, taking y'all through this. Gompers and Keg joining me. We have our bracket already. TTR, OR Esports through to winners finals. We have our losers set up already ready for tomorrow, but we just have to get this one out of the way, Keg.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we're going to speed through this segment. We want to get straight into the games, but we got to talk about what just happened. OR, stellar performance up against Disguised, and Turtle Troop, all the same on the other stream. So I can't wait to see how it is when both these teams converge together, because again, we talked about the standout players for OR in the previous set.
Yep.
Now it's the time to talk about how amazing Turtle Troop have been.
Yeah, again, let's still glaze OR a little bit because they deserve it. They do. A little bit. We suppose they do deserve a bit of a spotlight, because in our last game we did see finally that spotlight performance from a player like Zelgers, who we've been calling on throughout this split. But also on the other side, it's Pancakes, who we haven't seen been unlocked at all since he first came onto this team. It's only been just the consistent middling numbers. He comes out in the last game with some incredible clutches and of course some big holds. I mean, you heard it from the coach. He's not just a one trick, right?
Yeah, I mean, going with what the coach said too, Omen's Flash is so unbelievably strong at times, and that was one of the most oppressive tools that Pancakes would often utilize in those mid-round plays. Now, of course, the smokes helped out too, but one really hidden thing about Pancakes that I enjoyed in the previous set was that he would just try to condition things through just audio alone. A fake shrouded step, a fake smoke, whatever you can to distract the enemy team. Did it always work? No, but the attempt was there, and it could definitely work this time.
Yeah, potentially so. But again, we saw a huge mix of results there from OR Esports. Almost everyone in that last game was finally able to step up all the way down to their bottom fragger, who had a couple of insane moments in terms of physic. But over on the other side, in terms of TTR, we also did actually see off stream a bit of a dominant result. Even though we didn't actually physically get to see what went down, you can kind of tell that Turtle Troop were primed for a huge run going into relegation. Listen, hear me out. Turtle Troop, they pretty much deserve to be in playoffs right now, but they're just not. They're in relegation, potentially as just a consolation, just for themselves to get back into challengers. At least that's what's in my mind, Gompers.
I'm going to be blunt with it. They had the best run out of everybody down inside of this, bottom 4 grouping. They, again, like you said, they almost made it to playoffs. It was that really unfortunate downfall from Shopify that kind of just, swept that rug under their feet. But I think here, obviously for this team, they're probably one of the fan favorites if you're looking at it. They're a team that everybody is thinking they don't deserve to be here. And I think for sure they're going to prove that.
And we had a lot of factors this season that came together for TTR. First of all, Governor, who was able to let go of that IGLing role at the midway through the season with their change up once again of their calling structure. Back over in split number 1, we actually had the integration of Tig and Mame, and both of those players brought in insane structure to this team. They immediately ended up beating Moist Moguls and G2 whenever they made this change, but they had to change their calling structure again, and they were still able to stick it together. We still had Governor, who ended up coming off of that IGL role, coming off of the support role, and actually popping off in the second half of the year. You still have players like Adder, and especially players like we did, who were able to really sprout up, especially in this last game against Mad.
Yeah, and Whedon's always been a really high-performing player, and finding them in challengers here on TT, it's going to be good for them, and they've been able to succeed thus far, but I mean, they had a standout performance just a few hours ago, and I'm hoping, again, that momentum can keep going. We could say the same about OR, but for Turtle Troop right now, you talk about how it's kind of a consolation prize for them, right? But I mean, they have to still put in the work to qualify.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to talk about for a second. What's going on? Average combat score, 288.5.
It's pretty high.
On Brim.
On Brim. This guy's cracked out of his mind. Turtle Troop. Man, like, this is why they almost made it down to playoffs. This is why this team is a fan favorite. It's stats like these that really push you forward.
Absolutely. We did, of course. He's been consistent pretty much all season, but we've still seen other factors be able to come up for this team that we didn't exactly expect. Rossi has been a huge supporting factor throughout this first run. And again, almost everyone from TTR, you can really pick and choose and who's actually brought up the biggest effect. But the most consistent player for me has been Rossi in a team that has desperately needed consistency in their support.
Yeah, it was unfortunate to see Rossi swap away from their old team into Turtle Troop, but again, like you said, that consistency being that anchor that the team needs, and most importantly, with all the different role swaps happening within Turtle Troop, it aids Governor so much and has just overall been a net positive for the team.
Now we get to talk a little bit more now about the rest of our series. This best of 3, again, we didn't exactly expect TTR to have too much of a tough time back over in that first BO3. But more importantly, they have a very wide map pool going into these playoffs. So again, going into this best of 3, it almost feels like OR Esports might have a bit of that back foot as we do get into our vetoes real quick. Again, we don't really know if TTR are going into more of their comforts or they're going to be going into a little bit more of that counter pick. What do you think, Keg?
Well, I mean, for both of these map picks right now, they aid both teams simultaneously pretty well. Throughout Split 2, we've seen a 100% success rate for both of these teams on Lotus. Now, I'm no math magician, but after today, that's not going to be the case for one of these teams, but we can pretty much go down all of the map picks and say the same exact thing. For the most part, Fracture, relatively the same. Turtle Troop haven't found as much success on Fracture over Split 2, but they're willing to choose into that map, so they must have something cooking behind the scenes that we don't know about yet.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, not as much success, right? Of course, we ended up seeing a big win against G2 in the first split, but like, come on, 9-3 half against M80 on the attack side. Yeah, they did drop the game after that, but on that same defensive side that ended up faltering against M80, we ended up seeing a 9-3 half against Mad Lions, 11-1 against TSM. So it's not like that map, again, still has that huge potential for Turtle Troop. But at the very end, we actually get to see Haven, where, again, OR, they did get to evade it, but for very good reason. If you want to talk about a weaker map, it is Haven for OR.
Yeah, off of pure map stats alone, both of these teams have had less than 50% of their times on Haven go into side their favor. In fact, for OR, only a quarter of the matches they've played in this split have won on Haven. So this is definitely a great decider map. It's going to be the true test to see how far these teams have come. Not even since the last time they've played Haven each, but since the beginning, where they've grown since the beginning of Split 2 in of itself. That will be the ultimate test for both these maps, if we even get that far.
Yeah, if we get that far. But these first two maps are still very important in terms of picks in general, because we're looking at a Lotus from OR that hasn't been played in almost 2 months. And the last time that we ended up seeing it from them, it wasn't a bad look whatsoever. Beating G2 13-4, that can't be a bad result. Again, being able to replicate that though, we're looking again at a TTR team who, again, here on Lotus, we only saw recently, but we ended up seeing a little bit more of that meta look. The double controller coming in with just a single initiator. They still had the Jet on the team. And to be honest, that was pretty much one of the more, I want to say one of the less confident looks, to be honest, coming out of this team. I don't really think they were that comfortable. Lotus might actually be a bit of a back foot for this team.
It depends on how you want to look at it, because I think even outside the teams as a whole, in terms of just how much the meta for Lotus itself has developed in that time, it's grown quite a bit. We're seeing a lot more prominence of double controllers, maybe sometimes even triple controllers in the process too. So I think just the meta of Valorant in of itself is going to affect the outcome of this first map more than just about anything else. And so if we look at the meta, we could be like, well, how are each of these teams going to respond around that? Are we going to see a lot more controller dominance, or could this just be another one of those matches where, just like what we saw before with OR, and Sentinels can be one of the biggest factors that we can look at into the matchup?
I think the biggest thing also coming into this is that TTR, they had such a successful run in that split number 2 that I don't think we're going to be seeing those surprises that we ended up seeing from OR Esports. We do have a bunch of flexible players here for TTR who have had to swap roles back and forth throughout this season, but we aren't exactly looking at a TTR who have those types of questions, Gompers.
No, I mean, we aren't TTR, right? Again, we talk about their dominance. We talk about them coming into this space and, again, really making their own say, putting themselves up on that upper echelon. So I think for this team, there isn't much to say. This team is hardworking. This team is a team that I feel like OR, even though they had such a spectacular run back in that first half going against DSG, they may as well come into here and then be in DSG's position. So it really is kind of, it's not all transparent. There's a lot of fogging up what OR is going to do. Obviously, they're not looking nervous, but for a team like Turtle Troop, you really have to hone down on the weaknesses, and that's what OR said they do. So I'm hoping we get to see that in this game.
Again, one team out of these two come back to challengers into the next year. And for TTR, ultimately speaking, especially coming out of that split number 2, it will be ultimate disappointment if they can't make it through. A team like OR Esports is a caliber of team that TTR have been able to put down. Out of the 4 teams that are here in this relegation bracket, TTR have beaten 3 of them, and they've only faced 3 of them. It's their first time actually facing OR Esports outside of the open bracket. And back in the open bracket, it was TTR that ended up beating OR Esports. So again, we're looking at a TTR who this sort of level keg, this is below them.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations similar to when OR went up against Disguise, where it's almost a fresh slate. Both of these teams have transformed their rosters drastically way back from the open days that it's almost like we have to start over and look at them objectively in this matchup to see truly where they're at up against each other. TTR, like you said, have had a really strong favor going into this series, but OR themselves, they've had so much more prowess in redoing how their IGLing is going to work. Their entire process of structure of the teams themselves have completely changed, and this is the true reason to see on Lotus of all maps, a map both these teams have gone flawless on. There's no other better way you could start the beginning here.
Yeah, and again, we still are seeing a TTR team who have been incredibly consistent throughout this split, but in an OR Esports team who have taken a couple wins, we haven't seen any truly disappointing results from them. Even in their losses, again, they ended up taking the guard all the way to 11-13 in both of the maps that they ended up playing. Realistically speaking, Gompers, we're still looking at a very competitive game, but who from OR Esports do you think is going to bring out the competitiveness from this game?
I think if we're looking at the terms of what OR can bring, right, we're looking at Physic, Pancakes, Jonah 6, Nilyaz, and Zeldrick. I was about to say Zeldrick. Yeah. I think in my opinion, somebody that really did shine above the rest occasionally was Zeldris. And of course, I mean, oh yeah, you're pointing out the duelists. Like, are you dumb? But I do feel like we've seen a lot come through from Zeldris. And there were these times where, again, it's very hard for you as a duelist when to be set up in a kind of like those preparations. But I do feel like OR does a really good job at using their util to set up Zeldris for that success. Yeah. So I do feel like it really is that team effort, but it's Zeldris' turn to really make that happen.
The biggest effect that we ended up getting from our first best of 3 from OR was how everyone was able to combine for the win for OR. We get our map picks. Let's see if everyone can step up to take down the mighty TTR.
Already. Not too many differences in the controllers that I thought they would be, but I mean, we did see big changes in them themselves. I mean, before we had the double Viper Hava set up from an OR, but now instead of double straight walls, we have Pancakes on that Omen yet again. I like this change. Pancakes, after that interview, opting for more of a comfort pick for the controller, and we've seen how Pancakes can just dance around that smoke. Being able to eliminate all those 1v1s so quickly, that's going to be a strong benefit going to a wide map like this. But I want to highlight Governor on Neon here. I think this is a really interesting choice. We saw Neon for a long time on Fracture, and then when Cypher started getting developed, that went down quite a bit. Yeah. But on another wide map like this, where there's a lot of approaching options, Cypher has a place on Lotus, but Killjoy has just been such a strong factor that it allows a lot more of opportunities for someone like Governor to just evade away from all that util.
Talking about evading util, not much to evade when the smoke right smack dab in your face, and I'm interested to know why. Oh, I see why. OR taking an approach of putting that smoke down in the middle so Zeldris can peek off this. Looking forward to see what they can have, but brought the full fucking smoke. We know exactly where they are. Yep, gonna be able to take it there from OR.
Oh yeah, clean takedown, full control of Seaside there, and again, we were just questioning about the Neon pick of Governor. So far away from everybody else, it's all of OR. Anyone who tries to approach onto Seaside, they've fallen. And all that's left now is just Governor. Almost full util in the process. No fast lane to work off of, but in a round like this, OR possibly catching the defensive Turtle Troop out by surprise by bringing out that smoke enabled the surprise hit all over the site. But with that being said, though, that was the first round, a fairly quiet one at that. But I'm assuming now with being Lotus again, we've seen so much chaos in our previous times casting here that I'm sure it's going to come out at some point. And a lot of it usually begins on A main, just dumping so much util everywhere, stifling away those attackers.
Poison orb emitting.
Early guiding light again misses. This Viper's orb is so strong in the beginning there, but you lose not only Pancakes, one of 2 controllers, but you lose out on the spike too. You have to wonder at this point as the scaling continues, the only one who may be able to give a bit of a reprieve could be Adder, but they're stuck by this breakable wall. Everybody else in Turtle Troop, they're slowly crawling back around to the back of A site. 1:10 left on the clock still. The Neon now on a Marshall. Looking for a prime line of sight down below where OR is soon to be funneled. With that being said, though, the brick does eventually break. The Viper's orb comes up, and there it is. The early slay that comes down. Physic, the IGL, doesn't survive the first ordeal, and still with just pistols, OR. They only have Nilly on a Ghost, but everybody else with the Spectres might be good up close, but not far away.
Grenade!
Even now, Pincho actually pushing back. Any sense of coordination that they can have here for Turtle Troop. Still picking things up just a bit. Nilias watching down the CT side, hoping that we did try to push themselves out where he got 4 players trying to get a sandwich in. Zeldris, luckily enough, having a spray that they could commit to. But it's Nilias alone. Even Jonah alone. Now still in the 1v2. Left completely open. And instead of peeking one by one, they just took the fight head on.
Yeah, and the whole beginning of that round 2 from OR started off on the back foot when Pancakes had fallen into the hands of Dazzle on the backside. The smokes looked great for OR in the beginning of that round, but just a little bit of mistiming there allowed Pancakes to fall so quick, and that was the spike identified too. There weren't really many opportunities from there for OR to kind of rotate around to B or C site. They had to challenge A directly head on. And now in response, we get to see Rossi bring out the Viper's Wall. Is going to divide out the majority of where OR really need to start having those choke points settled on A site. And it's going to enable the team to maybe take a little bit more closer quarters on B site with only Sheriffs and a single Bulldog.
Nilias. I mean, a slow approach, but again, the Killjoy util right here for Turtle Troop. Gonna be a big obstruction already. Moving along, Reed is playing off of it. So as it comes, got that 2K to come down. Yeah, TTR already making very, very good efforts to stop this here.
And I like this too. The smoke goes down, blocks off the line of sight for most of Turtle Troop, except for Governor. Deep in the back lines, with the help of Dazzle. A Phantom's already brought out this late. It's 1-1. The economy hasn't been built up nearly as much, but that's full A-side control, and now suddenly things are topsy-turvy.
Heal up, squad.
Oh, Odin. Okay. You know, I kind of like this. I think it's fun, although Physic, again, kind of just sitting around waiting for the peak to come through. Jonah can't seem to connect. And you leave TTR with a pretty flawless run.
Yeah, Turtle Troop just playing much more fluidity on their defense has worked out, at least for these opening last 2 rounds. OR, they pulled them by surprise by having that surprise hit on C for the pistol. But since then, the team has been playing a little bit more slower, a little bit more defaulting these opening picks. And even then, we're seeing these controllers so early feed the targets for Turtle Troop. It just enables them to keep wandering around, rotating to the back lanes in these mid-rounds. Hasn't been easy so far for OR. And again, this is a map where both these teams in Split 2 have won flawlessly. So you have to wonder now, OR, when they played so safe on their last series, are they able to reclaim that same sort of, that same sentiment? The early guiding light doesn't connect yet again. We saw the early pressure from Governor, but it wasn't enough. A one-way, though, does aid OR's side, pressuring C. It's only Rossi by themselves, but they do have a secret ingredient in their arsenal, and that's the Odin. Turn the whole site into paper mache.
Oh, nice pain shell coming out. And so much space already, as it seems. TTR back up so far. And now they're going to have to try to fight completely for that control. Just giving it away willingly here. OR Esports, though, still picking off a fight. A nice refrag. Everybody from OR still fighting, still searching for something. Pancakes makes a very good effort. The spike is in town. Again, there still is time here for Adder to try for something. Unfortunately,
planted.
You don't have any nano swarms to use in this instance. Patient already given away. They're going to peek that. Yeah, Nilias is going to watch. And again, it's OR with that coordination, really leaning into this.
Yeah, and that coordination's working well to take full control of C site early on. A and B site, again, usually util dump city, allows a team like Turtle Troop to have that flexibility to move forwards out of the site and rotate even more. That's the whole reason why you have a Neon, right? You're able to just kind of rotate and be where the action is at all times. But with OR on such a condensed site, it's easier said than done to have that kind of positional power. I think the big question is, though, is Governor going to use their overdrive this early, or are they going to wait for the eco round next? We'll have to wait and see. Majority of Turtle Troop are taking full control of this B choke, not even giving door control to OR. It's almost funneling the team back over into A site, where the lone Rossi, again with that Odin, still stands.
Taking on a completely different perspective from OR. A little sad too, because TTR, they tried to read into this play, but you got only the Viper waiting around. And, you know, util here can only do so much. Unfortunately, Rossi only have to watch with the Odin.
Ores and ore emitting.
Try to do what they can. Snakebite down to try to isolate this pressure.
And Rossi just has to wait. Give all the audio cues about the util that he can see being used up. Trailblazer, the boom, but a lot of information gathering that OR could use, not available for the post plant.
Here we go.
All of it is still looking up to this TTR. Keeping it down towards the back of sight. again, it's difficult because you're looking at what they have to play with here, and there's absolutely nothing. 2 snake bites left to use, but what can you do when Governor's on you? Nothing.
Good cleanup. Wasn't sure if the overdrive would be used until we saw a Thrifty round come by, but no, Governor's like, yeah, we don't need it. We're building up our economy nice and fine. And that's the first round we've seen from Turtle Troop defending. Well, actually, no, I apologize. That was the first round we saw from OR, getting a spike into the ground that isn't a C-site. And it was still a close engagement, but we saw all of that exploration utility used just as the site control was taken by OR. Boombot, Trailblazer, all that stuff was physics utility in order to ensure where the info could be about Turtle Troop rotating in. And even that wasn't enough. The pressure the Turtle Troops have is so good so far. 3 defuses in their arsenal. It's been the win condition for the team. But as OR keep exploring different options going into the early rounds here, B-side looks a little appetizing. They won't realize it yet, but the Seekers will give away that there's only 1 defender on site, but everyone else is soon to close in.
You should run.
1 minute 25 seconds left, still so much time left to do. Already through the smoke, Rossi tries to fight for another. And this is great, they're doing so much damage. Already down on the site, Lockdown pushes it back, but they've still gotten so much left.
Viper's pick could be the sole reason OR can stay inside this round. Jonah, good for 1, but only at 15 HP. Now they're the last one left. Not for much longer either. Dazzle straight through the Viper's pit, able to take down Jonah once more. And I gotta say, Rossi with this Odin has been a huge surprise for me. Normally we get to see Odins make a huge appearance on, say, Ascend with Sovas, but a Viper Odin on Lotus is new. A lot of clutch angles being seen here, especially towards the attackers. Can just dissolve in paper mache. So many penetratable angles here that Rossi can take advantage of, and B-side there isn't really any of that, but there's no real corners outside of the spike plan itself to hide away from the high caliber shots of an Odin either. And that in of itself has been stalling OR so much. There's that hesitation again, right on the entry. Now you have to wonder, Turtle Troop, they've doubled their rounds now in OR. They have to go for a very early timeout.
Yeah, right there. The biggest thing is just TTR being able to, again, take up so much space down in that post plant. And again, it's that lack of control that really leaves TTR able to push even further for that. So, oh man, it's just going to get harder and harder. They really have to find the way to counter just the consistent, I guess more so consistency.
I mean, we could look the spacing to that, right? You have so much control or util from OR to create that space, especially for the backside, but a lot of these early rounds ended up with someone like Pancakes falling. You lose out on substantial dome-based smokes that you really need for the endgame. Not to mention, too, Governor, we saw the overdrive could just go pretty much wherever they want. And recognizing this is a thrifty round is so smart here. Sheriffs and Singers are all what OR has, and so just flashing and popping out. Why even have a round here? Turtle Troop want to end this as quick as possible.
Governor still looking for the work up and making it happen. TTR with that 5-2. Again, looking super consistent. And they knew OR was going to try to counter that attack. But what did they do? They got aggressive. They gained that control down towards main.
And it makes sense, right? Because that safety spot that OR love to go to when all else doesn't work has to be that C main spot. Smoking themselves out, going for the blast pack directly into the site has been the bread and butter for the early rounds. But not only are you a thrifty and have a substantial weapon disadvantage, Turtle Troop right into that. A simple flash and a double peek. Took down all of OR before they even got close to a site. But this is where things can change around now. Locking down C yet again. It's forcing OR to either contest directly into Rossi. Blinded with an Odin, no less, too. Or go back to A site where they came so close just a few rounds before. Oh. Mbot's not gonna fight. Oh! Okay, Nilly. I mean, we saw the perspective of Rossi, right? But that was directly through the Viper's pit. A complete pre-fire from Nilly. And that just opened up the whole round for OR. That confidence! It's shining back out again! And all you have left is Adder. Adder's been in that spot before. The waterfall angle has just been a coffin for him.
Toxins going up.
Yeah, I'm not feeling too uneasy there. The thing I really do respect about OR is that no matter who they're playing against, no matter who might be the favorite, I mean, they do their research. Even right there, Nilly has understood where Rossi was standing. I mean, really just took the shots into their own plan and just ran away with it. I think OR here, again, if they keep going with these counter plays, they'll be able to, you know, again, continue on that stride. The 1v1 happening again. Dazzle versus, I mean, my apologies, Physic versus Rossi.
I mean, Physic's pretty dazzling too, though.
Yeah.
A shining light. But I like this adjustment now. Adder's fully setting up all over A site. C's been good. A little too good at times for OR, and this is just a big case of outbraining each other's team. OR aren't dedicating from any site. They're playing it safe, waiting to see what Turtle Troop will do next. Their money, for the most part, was looking good, but starting to drain away for the likes of We Did and Dazzle. Physics and company. All the smoke util they have slowly crawling back up into A site. Turtle Troop are employing the same strat. They're waiting to see what OR is going to do next. Less than a minute left, you have to ask yourself, who's going to make that first detrimental move? The first to really reveal themselves. Yeah, the sprays from Governor, sure, but they're not really making an appearance. Oh, the nanoswarm's going away, though, for the sake of a Trailblazer means an early hit to be.
Nade kind of popped out to try to stop this, but We Did hiding behind the smoke. I'm not even sure they know. But this is such good pressure being kept. Unfortunately, Jonah already finding out. Now the Odin's starting to move up slowly but surely. The effort is gone. Rossi, absolutely nothing to say about it. I'm just convinced, I mean, confused as to why we're seeing Rossi pull out that Odin. I mean, there's so much potential. Rossi's such a great player. Their aim unmatched. So, are they trolling? Are they?
I don't think they're trolling necessarily. I think from the angles that we see Rossi normally staying for their defense, they're able to have these ridiculously long-range shots. This is one of those moments I wish we had a telestrator, but it's like, okay, Rossi is setting up on C's side. From the angle that he likes to play, Viper's Pit, no Viper's Pit, whatever you want to say, if we have OR pushing into B main, the penetration caliber of the Odin would be enough to have a direct line of sight directly through the door into B main from where Rossi likes to say, nice and safe. So it's a huge pressure tool, but you're completely right. As soon as OR recognizes what Rossi has equipped with, they go to the more condensed site that finds less appeal to an LMG. I don't know, do you think we should see Rossi swap off Odin? Should someone else take the mantle of the Odin?
I think we do. I think we do see. I think Rossi has so much potential, right? And the Odin, I mean, as good as it is, under the circumstance that you're holding down an angle, there's the group positioning happening, they're going to peek you wide. I feel like, or unless you're trying to get at least some wall banks, I think it's great. I think in this situation, though, there have been so many retakes that they need to start to reconsider their strategy because the pressure's too much, and the retake's going to be even harder with that Odin. So, you know, one tap's better than, you know, trying to fight for some type of spray here.
Not to mention, it's a very big investment.
Yeah.
Round after round, you keep losing the Odin.
Turrets destroyed.
It's difficult. Definitely putting away that economy as well. Yeah, but definitely a good point.
But speaking of those choke angles, Rossi's now pushing back in the tree. As soon as someone reaches where that Viper wall is on the minimap, you can easily pierce through that. But it's a matter of just having the timing right. No one else is really around Rossi except for We Did, and again, you better hope your communication's good for a play like that. Instead, Adder, a full belly of the beast set up here on the choke angle directly inside C site. Adder doesn't realize what's about to happen, but they gotta make this util work.
Yeah, completely built. Eldris, though, clearing everything up, and this is great. You see the TP, actually We Did, playing with the Neon. This is the teamwork that we like to see again and again, waiting for that rotation, so they're not planning to push just yet.
And this is where Turtle Troop struggle a little bit more. They found some retakes in the past, but on C site, it's always been a lock and shut case. Full site control for OR and the showstopper in the hands of Zeldris. What do you do next? You can do nothing but hide and waste time against OR.
wasting time, but it's difficult when you got so much happening here. Seltrace, even then, hiding behind everything, and Rossi trying to prove me wrong. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not completely against having the Odin on really.
I think it was good. Right there, it was good. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was good, but you're right. It has those opportunities to be a little inconsistent, too. Like, if you're bringing up the Odin, you better make sure you can use the Odin. Because you fall into that same trap as when people love to buy operators, too. You can bring out an operator, but if you're not finding that impact with it, and you die with it, no less, you're losing out on so much money for your whole team. And we're starting to see glimpses of that here, too. It was a round win for OR. Stingers, not too far out from the hands of Turtle Troop, littered with some Vandals and an Odin to boot. At least the Odin, I believe, survived last time, but still, it's a scary investment. Strong opening pick.
Yeah. Oh, Jonah. Poor Jonah. Doesn't even know what's going on behind them. But then it's the same thing. Because now Pancakes knows, but Dazzle doesn't know either.
It's like poetry. It just rhymes. Oh. Not only do we have that lockdown coming down, but the revenging Killjoy's like, no, you're not going to enter the site. You can have it now. But let me get one before I leave. Full site control for OR, but at what cost? You've already lost almost half of your team. Only person to fall right now has been Governor. Nilly scaling full so far deep in, looking to maybe find that flank potential into the late round.
Trying to find some joy here, Rossi.
Spike down.
Again, looking at the consistency, trying to bring that about with Yoden. Wallbang very nicely. Adder watching down behind them, but you see that alert coming around. Pancakes left alone. Already a flank coming along. A beautiful shot from Pancakes. And again, this is the potential here. Rotate over towards B or just keep this going. Paranoia making effort there. No, they have time, but they just don't have the numbers. Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a tough call to be made there. Had we seen Pancakes have even one or two more ult points there, easily could have gone for their ultimate from the shadows directly into A site. Full site control for the plan, but you know, with the crunch of timing and taking so much time off of Killjoy's ultimate to claim site, all it took was Turtle Troop just to wait it out and reaggress after. This slower playstyle reminds me a lot of a different series that we saw. I keep harkening back on that a lot because OR haven't really had to change a whole lot in terms of their own playstyle. But it's this passivity that's been working out so well for these relegation teams. It puts them on their toes and almost forces them, the attacking side I should say, to make these moves so late into a round that they don't have much time to readjust. Oh? Whose operator is that? Who's that gonna go to? Nope, okay.
Nah, they just YOLO'd it. It's
yeah,
done.
they had the money. It's last round.
Yeah. They gave it up. They don't care. It's for the charity.
Yeah, they're donating it to the cause.
To the cause and all. I don't know who would accept that, but
I don't know. Would it be Nelly? Because he's so far back? I don't know. But Governor.
No. Yeah, super unfortunate. Especially with the Seekers there. They heard the shots. Pain Shell there to take it. Rossi, I don't even know. They're running it down with the Odin. I'm loving the gameplay here. Again, though, we did getting a nice smoke off, so they can't seem to find anything. B-side still able to for the taking, but they're actually planning for a sandwich in instead.
I like what Physics doing. Scaling all the way up from the waterfall. This will be a huge rotate spot and allows free passage back over to B for OR. But no one's moving up. OR are so dead set on pushing in the C site that they avoid an open site. And they work it out. Oh, that's left now was Adder. Viper's Pit is out. No ultimate to work with, no utility at that either, Gump. Adder has to go into the smoke itself, into the belly of the beast and hope for the best. To bring this to an even game, to an even... Well, actually, I'm sorry, to a 7-5.
Oh, what was that? The noise being made. But
The little alarm bell was like, yeah!
he's here! It's always somebody hiding up top, getting taken out there. Yeah, just a pretty evident spot to hide. Jonas 6, again, you're in your own smoke, so what are you gonna do? Obviously take that one down in a round.
Sides.
Yeah, as we swap sides, I think the big question right now is what can Governor do with this Neon? Because it's not every day we get to see the Neon for the aggro entry, but there's a lot of controller capabilities within Neon herself that we don't get to see a whole lot of when it comes to matches, but in the case of how slow we've seen OR play today, I think there's a lot of benefit with a Governor using the fast lane to take early site space.
Yeah, but we're switching up, right? Again, let's not forget, OR Esports, this is their map. Like, and I think one of the biggest things that I'm kind of trying to bring up here is TTR, being able to hold it this close on a map that I would per se, maybe you would ban originally, or something that you're not necessarily feeling, you know, as comfortable as what OR is. Obviously, they brought up this map for a reason. They're bringing themselves into the public eye. Still though, everybody's just slowly working around, and the timing might just be impeccable here. Yeah, Zeldris getting nice information, the rotation coming back around from Pancakes, putting those smokes down.
Bomb buddy.
Oh, great call coming underway. Physic,
Nice.
Tries to bring out the guiding light right at the wrong moment. At least directly into a double kill now from Turtle. The Turtle Troop, they're looking so great. They're good for another Governor. Like it's nothing is able to skate right into the lens of Pancakes. Full backside control, and all that's left, well, should have been Jonah, but it wasn't enough. 7-6 now for Turtle Troop, and I think you bring up a really good point. That both these teams have a lot of history on Lotus. The newest map in the pool, too, no less, where it's taken this whole year to develop that meta. Figure out what works and what doesn't work. Do you need a lot of Sentinel prowess? Is having controller to deny space better for this map? And both these teams have been at that forefront experimenting on those factors of what works, to the point now where we do get to see those different philosophies here. Turtle Troop, they should be opting for their attack to play a little bit more aggressive. Play directly off their util more. OR, they love to have attacking teams go into their space. Go for those mini crunches.
Oh, that was such a good shot. Governor had it right there. Now a Spectre. Kind of left for the taking there for OR. Actually, no, they're not going to be able to. Space given away. Basil slowly on the work up. The Omen coming back around here. I like the rotation that they're giving in. Still, at least some of that control left around down towards mid.
Yeah, the rotations, like you said, are so responsive right now from OR. They're trying to help out their teammates, playing for those trades. No one can be by themselves except for Pancakes. Always that lurking wonder. Fortunately, though, the lurk's not going to work well this time, Gom. But on the bright side, though, ideals have been seen. Turtle Troop are making their way to A.
Still got to fight the Killjoy. Unfortunately, though, Nilias left with a frenzy to fight a 5-person push coming down towards A, waiting for their teammates desperately here. Zeldris starts to make the line out, or takes out the first, trying to make some effort there. Some of the damage, making it work. Jonah, 6 there. Try to transfer here. 1v2, it's possible. They still have Marshall. I'm not sure why it wasn't pulled out, but assuming they felt more comfortable with that classic in hand. 8-6 though.
Maybe just hoping to catch somebody out by surprise at the end. By the way, Rossi is still on the Odin this early on in the second half. Does that mean Lotus is turning into the new Ascend? Where you can just shoot through half the walls? I mean, if you're hiding inside of tree on A site, you can definitely do that, but we haven't seen any player, well, I guess really it's only Rossi doing it, hasn't seen Rossi capitalize on that yet. But I guess you could argue with all the smokes happening, it's a great pressure tool, and you don't need to reload too quick. But there's that fast lane coming underway. Governor avoiding any sort of action really happening inside this small little mini main of A main. They'll just hide away.
Found one.
Full tree control met with the paint grenades. Dazzle's trying to open up and give safe way to B site.
Pull cat.
They're coming along. Nilias keeping themselves under cover. Timing is huge here. You hear the rotation. They're actually going to wait, which I think is the smartest thing to do. Learning about what other people are going to. Okay, there's the party. Now they have to try to continue to fight this down towards B.
Dazzle. Went for the lurk and again finds success. That's a huge Vandal pickup for Dazzle now, and they could flank if they chose. Instead, though, I think we found the decision that OR wants to make. Backing away, keeping their economy alive. They don't want to waste away these Vandals. And I gotta say, the one thing that I'm really liking, the biggest changeover from Turtle Troop's attack from OR, is that Turtle Troop is putting a much larger emphasis on their lurking plays. This last round, we saw Dazzle remove away Nilly's turret, contesting them directly, taking the back lines of upper fountain control, and removing away, I believe it was Zeldris. Those back-end controls can be so difficult to reclaim on a map like Lotus. You already have to focus on so much for the retakes generally, so when you have to deal with the back lines too, and your turret's gone, it's just more and more problems amounting for the defense, and I think this is the great time to go for a timeout.
Yeah, there's a lot to discuss about that, especially winning out 3 rounds in a row. I mean, they put themselves out there for TTR. Right, their best play they could have made is really having Dazzle take that backhand spot, because it just completely reworked the thought process of what OR wanted to do.
Yeah, OR, they can't necessarily play that same style as they did against Disguise just a few hours before. You can't bank on the fact that there might not be a flank or a lurk anymore, and you could just hide right outside the smokes, connecting you directly to the enemies on site. Instead, OR, they have to watch their backs now. And I believe, as we've seen, Turtle Troop, they choose differently who their lurker can be from round to round. So now you have to think about the pacing, the timing, the tempo. How you engage in a lurk like that could drastically change round to round against OR, and they have to be mindful of that for the rest of the game.
Definitely one or the other here. TTR, though, again, they're on a really big stride. So just having to keep it together. You're looking at the ultimates loaded up. They can actually try to farm for something here off Adder. Get that lockdown intact, but that mid control definitely more important. Already you see Physics slowly working up down towards mid alongside Zeldris. Yeah, the turret backing that off real quick.
Yeah, I like this response here from OR after their timeout. Have an early presence in the rounds. Maybe try to remove someone like Adder from contention. They've been face-checking B main every round. So having the opportunity to remove the flank potential from Turtle Troop would turn the tides completely for that flank, or the lurk. It's up to Jonah now to hide away. This Viper wall allows free passage all the way into the back of C-site, and that could be a big opening for Turtle Troop to take advantage of. You don't know what's on the other side of that wall either. Could be a Trailblazer, could be anybody. Instead, the response now from Turtle Troop is to rotate back over to A-site, into the grasp of Nilly. Full cage at util set up all over side the belly of the beast. But Turtle Troop isn't a full team anymore. They're dividing and conquering, dumping util in C and B, making it seem like they're past rounds for their exec.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, free B site to take, already smokes down. You can see they're actually trying their very best there from Zeldris to get a quick pick off, but you know, better to wait for that retake instead. They're looking for a sandwich to come in. Trying to really pick off these players.
Stealing sight. Shadows.
And there we go, dark cover is strong. Get the face check everything you can now if you're OR.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, but Dazzle again, the lurk, it might not be directly in the B, but again, any lane that's open, Dazzle's gonna take advantage. 10-6 now for Turtle Troop. OR, they had a strong beginning here, but their defense, it's falling apart at the seams.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's difficult, right? Because already TTR coming off a streak. And, you know, we talked about their defense before, about what they were doing that really was retracting from what they could actually do. I feel like here in the attack, they have the free will to do whatever they please. So you're seeing Governor actually playing to that Neon a lot better than what they were before.
Yeah, just the entry prowess that you could see. Turtle Troop, they can, you know, they can kind of expend Governor if they need to in these rounds. You know, it's not like you have that duelist entry every round necessary. You have that flexibility with Gov. And if Gov wants to be the one to rotate and take side control, that's great. But these relay bolts, all the same, full backside control now. OR, the response is to be just as stealthy. They're trying to catch Turtle Troop off guard, but I don't think OR could ever expect full B site control. Brought into Waterfall, now over to C completely for free. They're both avoiding each other completely.
It's like they don't care anymore. Again, I think Governor really is just honing in on this Neon experience. They're really just trying to have fun with it. Look at this. Already still Zeldris coming around the back. They know they have the op as well, so this is big. Governor still having at least, that fast lane to use here. Not gonna bring it about. Still wrapping around down towards C. Gonna pick this fight.
Oh, but look at the potential mini flanks coming out from Govin at her. OR like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna happen. And Turtle Troop, you're completely right. The confidence of this team is boosted up considerably since they swapped to the attack.
Turret out.
The fact that now they feel comfortable to take the middle side of the map, not have to worry about the connectors necessarily, then take another full site for their own and scale up in the spawn, it stretches out your defense on the attack post plant so much. And yet through all of that, Turtle Troop don't seem fazed by it. They're winning those 1v1s. They eliminated Zeldris. And Governor's free to do essentially whatever he wants. With a 5-round lead too. Only 2 more rounds for Turtle Troop are needed for them to move on to map number 2.
I think the attacking side is, honestly, there's the take. You're seeing 2 ultimates already loaded up as well, so Dazzle getting the flash in, understanding somebody's watching that. Jonah left alone again, and it's always Jonah by themselves to fight this. Luckily.
Yeah, maybe Jonah should have an Odin.
Yeah. Maybe Jonah should, you know what, listen, if you're watching, Rossi, I am so sorry.
I'm sorry, the opportunity was there.
Rossi, I'm sorry. You're poggers with the Odin. You're cracked. You're jacked. You're goated. You're rizzed up. I don't know what else to say. I am sorry.
I'm sorry, Golf. I didn't mean it like that. Look at this, though. The post plan is out. Turtle Troop have full control of the site again. It's a slow crawl back for OR, but the timing, it's everything right now.
Oh, that paint show actually missed out completely off of Governor. Oh, and this is big. I love me some shock and action. TTR still, though, in a 2v2 situation. You got Rossi. And again, I've been proven wrong before. I apologize. I think Rossi's gonna do great here. Still left with the first. How did they get that second? The molly thrown down into that smoke. Doing good numbers there.
Point.
What a great snake bite. And again, OR, they've been put into this quarter where they have no response. They don't know how to defend on this site. I'm sure they do, but it's retaking the site. It's a very different story when you have such a more aggressive team, individually speaking, for Turtle Troop. I mean, we've seen pop-off performances from Dazzle, Rossi, Governor, just to name a few. And those are in the last few rounds. OR right now, obviously they need this next round or they go into the next map. Their ultimate cycling's not in the worst position ever. They're close to the lockdown. They're close to Jonah's Viper's Pit. Zeldris with the retake could very well use a showstopper. But this is a defensive team that has yet to push out too much either. They're giving up orb control to Turtle Troop every single round. And that's why we see the ult cycling be so much faster for this attack.
Just cycling. Oh, Zeldris, you could hear the footsteps, but he doesn't care. At this point, OR Esports are just trying to find that early pick to really lead things off. Surprisingly, that is up towards A, especially with the contests that we've seen continuously down towards C, but actually a nice dog out. They're not going to spot it.
Destroyed.
Pancakes left away. Nice clear from Zeldris.
Left behind, the guiding light doesn't spot out Pancakes either. Turtle Troop have no idea where he's at. And it's only Dazzle on the lurk. Oh no, Dazzle.
You should run.
Whether they know it or not is a big distraction. And it's met with another distraction. The lockdown for C site. A slow crawl back over to A, but again, Turtle Troop, they're not aware about Pancakes. Oh, it's the Odin. Oh, jeez.
Everything's being pulled out today. We did. Don't know how they're still left alive after that one, but Adder with such a nice flank coming around the back. Oh, this is going to be wonderful. Actually, everybody dropping just in time. Physic getting taken out with a one tap. Dazzle now finding a second, still working their way around, but again, it's impossible for OR. It's that first game ending off in a flawless OR Esports losing out their map here. I don't know how to feel. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, when you're in attack FPS, you have a best of 3 in front of you. You cannot lose your map pick.
Yeah.
Because now you lose your map pick, you're going to your enemy team's map pick, and now you have to hope that you can win on what could very well be your enemy team's comfortable map, and then fight for the decider. We've already seen statistically that the deciding map of Haven has not really been a great winning map for either one of these teams. I'm OR right now, I'm a little worried. They have to pull in all the stops for map 2.
Yeah, no, they really do. Especially, you know, the biggest thing is that I thought they were doing great down in that beginning half. But again, you have a Neon. Like, especially for Governor right there, it was a super uncomfortable position where if they pushed up, it was either giving them those free picks that they needed there for OR or just a really unnecessary fight to take, especially on a map like Pearl. It's dangerous to get that close. So it really wasn't allowing them that space until that attacking half where they really could go bonkers with whatever they wanted to do. So I feel like moving towards that second half map, that second map, there could be that potential there to really take things away from a team like TTR. But OR Esports, they're on a downhill run here. They lost their map. Now they're going over to, that comfort pick that TTR can really rely on.
Yeah, I think the big question is now if you're OR, what are you going to do for your defense in the next map? Yeah. Because we saw Dazzle, especially, I would consider him the MVP of map number 1, was able to find these crazy lurks that you normally wouldn't be able to get away with, but Dazzle just does Dazzle things. What can we say?
Yeah, it really is always Dazzle. I think the biggest thing is, obviously, everybody, I'm going to make a dad pun here before we go to break. But, this team really just dazzles, and they're all, they could all be Governor. At myself, so you can throw it.
Only Odin can smite you down from here.
I am sorry. I'm sorry to my first apology video. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, that's okay though. We'll have to film it during the break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
With eBay Refurbished, you have a choice of refurbished qualities to best fit your budget. Certified refurbished items are restored by the manufacturer to like new for up to 50% off. This drill was barely out of the box. Soon it will be back to working like new. Here's how it works. Every item is carefully inspected. Any imperfections are fixed by the manufacturer or manufacturer-approved vendor. Then it's tested to make sure it's working perfectly. Once it passes inspection, it's given the verified stamp of approval. Then repackaged with new accessories and shipped to its ultimate destination. With Certified Refurbished, you can shop with confidence because all our manufacturers go through a rigorous vetting process. And every purchase comes with an award-winning 2-year warranty, a money-back guarantee, and hassle-free returns. That's what makes it the smarter way to shop for premium brands. eBay Refurbished. Like new products, better than new prices.